So, an individual flower is comprised of a rather large number of petals. And having spent the time and effort to make one really nice petal, it would be great if the computer could do some of the work for me. So, here I am back in Maya. I've got my petal. It's called Petal 01. Maybe I will rename it because I am making a daisy. We'll call that Daisy Petal 1. I'm going to do this duplication in a couple of steps. The first thing that I want to do is just mention the object pivot. The pivot point is the location where the tool head is, and right now mine is at the origin. That's where the default object pivot comes in. The pivot is the point from which the object moves, rotates, and scales. Right now, I am rotating from the center of the object. When I look at the picture, the flowers all seem to be rotating from a central point under the little centery bit there. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to move the object pivot to a place so that the petal can rotate not from the center, but from that point above the petal. To do that, I'm going to press the D key on my keyboard. For me, this is just a quick depress and release. I have seen on some laptops where you have to hold the D key down. Most of you probably won't. Most of you will probably be able to press and release. When I've pressed the D key, I have moved into pivot manipulation mode, and at this point I can move or rotate the object pivot. If I click on this circle, I will rotate the object pivot. I don't want to do that, I just want to move it. If I click on these arrows, that will allow me to move the object pivot. So I'm going to move this pivot up a little bit above where the petal is. Once I've got it to a place I like, and this is purely guesswork, I am going to press the D key again. That's D for dog. And that moves me back into a normal mode. So I can move the object from here, or I can rotate it, and now you'll see that it is rotating around that point instead of rotating around its center. I like to keep my scene nice and clean, so I'm going to press W for the Move tool, and then I'm going to hold my X key down. X is Snap to Grid, and that's going to allow me to snap my pivot point back to the center. That means that my flower will be made with its center at the origin, and for me that's a little bit cleaner. Now that I've got the pivot point moved, I have two options for duplication. One is that I can press Ctrl D. Ctrl D will make Daisy Petal 2, and now I can press E for rotate and just start manually moving each petal into place. This can be nice because it gives you a lot of manual control. Ctrl D. I move this, maybe this one's back a little ways. Ctrl D. Maybe this one's up, maybe it's sideways, and that's going to give me a really nice organic distribution of petals. If that seems too slow for you, the other option that you've got is in your Edit menu, there's a command called Duplicate Special. Duplicate Special will duplicate a number of times in one move. So I'm going to take this. At the end of the command, there's this little box. It is called an option box. When I click on the option box, the option window opens up. The option that I want to use, here's Translate, Rotate, and Scale. I want to be rotating, and it looks like I'm going to be rotating Z. These boxes are X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to be rotating Z, and let's just see what happens if I rotate this 30 degrees. I'll hit Apply. By the way, the 3 buttons at the bottom of the box. Duplicate Special will run the command and close the window. Apply will run the command and keep the window open. And Close will simply close the window. So I'm going to press Apply, which will keep the window open. And that's what happens when I rotate 30 degrees. That seems pretty nice. I like that 30-degree rotation. So let's keep the 30-degree rotation, and in the number of copies, let's see what happens if I make 10 copies. Ooh, I went almost all the way around. I will Control Z back, and instead of making 10 copies, I will make 11 copies. And that gives me all the petals that I need to make a very nice daisy. Now they are all perfectly lined up, which can look a little awkward, but now that I've got them all, I can go back and I can start rotating this one a little bit that way, this one that way, and just make them a little bit less perfect. And that's going to make my flower look a lot more natural. Maybe I'll do every other one in some direction. All right. So that was how to both manipulate a pivot point and duplicate using Edit, Duplicate Special, Option Box.